Alright guys, so recording's on, so I'll try and keep it calm. We're going to do a quick chart review this morning, and then we're going to talk about Brexit and what it means and what we should be watching out for and when it ends. A lot of people aren't really aware of it, and if you've noticed, some brokers have even lowered liquidity, and I'll get into that in a minute. But first, let's go over the trades. I'm not going to say names, but for this chart, actually, everyone who's in the Skype room probably knows who it is. Okay, so the first thing we're looking at here on this chart is the fact that this is a warning candle. What I mean by warning candle is it's a line tool, I hope so. Color, size, good. What we mean by a warning candle is here's our support. That looks about straight. We also have like a support here. And in a ways we got it here too. So we have three supports that you can see here. Now, it looks like you took this trade, and at some point, I don't know if it was good or not, it doesn't really matter. The more important part is, okay, so here's the support. Let me get out of here. The more important part is what we're looking at is this candle. Well, we could see it here. It breaks. That's not a good color to use. It matches the background. So if we keep in mind those supports, what we see is this candle. Son of a bitch. Oh, I'm using the dropper tool. No wonder. God damn, I'm not awake. Like, what the hell am I doing? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, work. Okay, so this candle and this candle are both warning candles of a breakout. So what do I mean by that? Is that they've closed lower than our previous support. This one broke the recent support, and this one broke all our previous supports. So let's get into the trade, and then we'll review what I just drew on the chart. The trade itself, good. You were going with the trend. So if you were taking a buy upwards here, so you're, God, I wish the pencil wasn't black. So you took a buy, it looks like, and the overall trend, as we can see, is moving upwards. We're getting higher lows and higher highs. So there's our higher highs, and even on this the bit of consolidation here, it's still a new lower high. So technically, the trade was good. It's on the institutional side. I would say it's missing a little bit. What I mean that is over in this area, it was missing the institutional. Your current market conditions were good, but institutional said it had room to drop. The closest one we had was, like with institutionals lined up, was here. So let's get rid of some of the crap I drew and go back to what we were looking at. So based on that, technical-wise, everything but institutional levels was met. So good job there, but we want to make sure that the institutional and the current market conditions align together. Reason being, that gives us a really high probability that we're going to get a bounce in the opposite direction. Otherwise, even if current market conditions say that it can drop, with the institutional not supporting it, it can just keep going down to an institutional level. On the other hand, if you have all your institutionals lined up but no current market conditions, then it can still do the same thing. That's why we want the two to kind of match up and support each other. So hopefully, other than that, I mean, for just starting, this is day one, I believe, with you. That's a decent trade. We're going to go over swing high, swing low a little bit before we do Brexit, so don't worry about that. Okay, so a few things I will say. On your setup, go ahead and remove this. Does not need to be there. This takes care of it and uses a shit ton less memory. So we don't need the bottom one. You just need the nice value chart up top. They're the exact same thing. We don't need the bottom one. It's going to suck down and bog your computer down. And I'm guessing you have a pretty nice computer from the size of it. It looks like you have a huge freaking screen. Okay, so that covers that. So let's get out of here. Now, since I mentioned swing highs and swing lows, let's cover it a little bit so that you'll completely understand it. This is my setup. As you see, I don't use the center of gravity. We'll get into that later. One thing that I teach everyone is... Let's see if no questions in Skype. Sorry, my Skype isn't alerting for some reason. Before we get going, let me get some coffee and a little water in me. So if you hear me sipping, sorry. Well, right now we have a breakout candle forming. Or it just did. So let's see here. Here's our candle. I'm going to draw a support and resist off it. And let's zoom in on it, so in case it's hard to see for y'all. Okay, do we see why it's a breakout candle? If we look to the left, here's our support. And it definitely closed below it. So we are now overbought, oversold. Yeah, we hit one institutional level, we could say it. But do we want to take... The market's flat, so momentum-wise there isn't a lot. We don't have that many current market conditions. And the only one institutional. With a breakout candle like that, we want to probably avoid this trade because what's this candle doing? It's dropping. It is not reversing. So again, let's mark our support so you can see it clearly. What I'm looking at here, this is our support. Candle closed lower than it. That's a warning or breakout candle. Next thing we see is if you look at value charts, we did not get a divergence on it. I've covered divergence, everyone in the room, so I'm not going to ask what divergence is. Divergence means when this candle goes lower and value charts goes higher. Right now what we got is, now we have a divergence forming, if you can see. This candle went red a tiny bit. If value charts then should be lower than this, but it's not, it's higher. So now we have a divergence forming right here, which is a sign of weakening. It's like a sign of exhaustion. If you pay attention over on BOE, they just now figured this shit out. Someone has a divergence indicator. See if I can put it on there. I'll show you. It's funny that they're just... it's not funny. I mean, it's nice that they're just now figuring it out. Thought I had downloaded it so I could toss it on. It's probably on my other ones. Screw it. I don't want to get too into it. But basically what we're looking at is value charts dropped lower, price went lower, value charts dropped lower. On this one, price did originally drop lower, so value charts should have started off down here, but it didn't. It moved up to here and went into what's called divergence, meaning it is not mimicking what price is doing. Now it is, but you still need to take a look at the fact that this candle opened lower, so value charts should actually have opened lower and then moved up from there. But instead we got a divergence. So, just a few things to take from this one is, first, we had a breakout candle for this support. Second, value charts did not go into divergence here on this candle, so even then you still wouldn't want to jump out. Now we have a divergence, so it's a possible weakening. Breakout candles, when it's on a flat market like this, if you can line up enough institutional and current market conditions, you could go like maybe 1% on it, but they're still a little bit riskier. I'm trying to focus here. Give me a sec. Let me get a little more coffee. Okay, so let me adjust value charts because I think we see another breakout candle here, but it didn't work. But max bars, let's go 100. Okay, so I'm going to draw the line again. So what you should be doing, and it's a good practice to get into, mark your support and resist zones with little squares like this. It'll help you identify, and it forces you to see when we get an overbought, oversold, that if it's a breakout or not. And it keeps you, I guess you could say, interacting with your charts. It'll help you to learn a little faster. Okay, so looking at USD JPY, before we continue on this, let's do one question. Do we see anything wrong with this trade if you wanted to get on it? What was the warning sign beforehand that it just kind of looks like crap? And we'd be looking at this area here. Oh, I don't have single click turned on this one. So let me redraw it, and we'd be focusing in on this area. If you see this, and then this candle movement, these tiny little, we have a shit ton of dojis, and then a big spike down. That's a big warning when you see all these little dojis and then a spike down, to just stay out. We don't want to be trading it. We want candle size to be uniform. Plus, we want candle size to actually be able to give us structure or some idea of movement. All these are is a bunch of indecision candles. No decisions being made here. That's why you're getting a doji. Okay, so back to where we were in swing high, swing low. I'm going to take this one. Let me give a sec. I'm used to one click. If you wonder what I mean, if you go to Objects, select Object by single-clicking mouse. I prefer that. So it's Tools, Options, and then Objects. Select Object by single mouse click. What that means is I can just... See, it lets me just move it like that without having to double-click on it. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Because the double-clicking thing annoys the shit out of me. So our next one we're going to look at is this candle here. And let's change the line color. Since I don't want it to be green and match everything else, go with aqua. That still doesn't stand out much better either. Anyway. Okay, so this here, and on part, this candle here is also starting to show a breakout. So we have two candles here that are closing barely. Okay, so the first candle we're going to look at, I'll put a check mark by it. This candle is the one I'm referring to, the one with the check mark. This one would be more of what we'd call an ambiguous candle. Almost overbought, oversold, but if we look to the right, we only have one institutional, not quite overbought, oversold, so it should not have been a trigger to get in. But when I say it's ambiguous, is it closed right here almost dead even with our previous swing, which means it doesn't give us the information we need to make a decision. It's not telling us that it's a possible run. It's not telling us that it's a good reversal candle. It's just saying, hey, I closed at the level held. So it's not giving us any information. Next candle. So let's get rid of this so we're not confused. You son of a bitch. The next candle is going to be this one, and I'll mark it with an up arrow so we're clear on the one I'm talking about. This candle right here. This candle would have popped an alert. Current market condition wise, I can't tell all of them, but we're going to go with what we can see on it. Is Bollinger Band was breached and it closed outside it slightly. So in current market condition wise, there's one reason. Second, we're overbought. That's two. Overbought again is not a reason. It's just you could say it's a symptom, like your doctor's figuring out what's wrong with you. It's just a symptom. So we have two, I guess you could say, symptoms or reasons. Number three, and this would be current market condition, is weekly high and daily high were hit. Those are not institutional, and they're really not that strong. It's just they were hit. Now, if we look over here, institutional-wise, not a damn thing was hit, so this is a pass candle. But even so, what we need to recognize is this was a warning or breakout candle. Now, when do we take these into consideration the most is when the market is trending. Right now, the market is, as we can see, it is relatively flat. We don't really have, it's not trending upwards, it's not trending downwards. So the breakout candles don't affect our trading as much, but they do affect it. We want to be aware that that is a breakout candle. We'll take a look at a couple other charts, and now that any questions on breakout candles or before we move on, and then I'm just going to run through the charts and mark a couple so you can see them. Breakout candles are just one thing you really need to be aware of. Keep in mind that a breakout candle's the chances of it actually going on a run also depend on the strength of the trend, as the trend will give it momentum. And if you don't understand any of what I said, please just ask. It won't kill you. And if you're too shy to ask in this room, shoot me a private message on Skype, and I'll still answer it in this room so you can see it. Okay, so it looks like we're all good there. So let's go ahead and pop through the charts real quick. Let's look for breakout candles real quick. I'm going to mark it. We'll see if we have any decent ones. Holy hell, that's a nice... Okay, super nice support here, guys. This is something you should be aware of and mark on your charts. Super nice support. You can mark it this way. You can mark it this way. Since this is such a big one, I'd probably use a whole line going across. And you can see this fucker... Sorry, I cannot go one recording without cussing, I swear. So, either way, this fucker's holding right here. I mean, look at how it's bouncing. Key level to keep in mind, we're overbought, oversold here. Don't jump the gun. It didn't touch our support. Wait for this candle. Remember, the overbought, oversold alert is just to get you to the chart so that you can then sit there and watch it. So, right here would have... Okay, I know we have a new person in the room, but I don't want to get into, and I'm going to get into cheating. But if you see this overbought, oversold, and you see this giant freaking wall here, would anybody have taken this trade? We don't have institutional, current market conditions all aligned. Would anyone, and let's not lie to ourselves here, seeing this support, would anyone have taken this trade? Even though we're missing a shit ton of institutional. Because it's rare you're going to see a setup like this. I wish I wouldn't have been dicking around this morning and got up, because that is a nice trade. I'm answering a question on Skype. Cool. Yeah, and when you see something like this, use a little common sense. Yes, we have rules to keep you out of trouble. But if you see something like this, and then you see an overbought, oversold, it's hitting, plus all our other current market conditions confirm it, jump on that shit. Just because there's no institutional, I mean, that is a perfect setup. Okay, so let's talk about... Okay, as in perfect setup, since we were talking about breakout candles or warning candles, what did this not do? Why it is a perfect setup? Why am I jumping up and down saying it's such a good setup, and what would have ruined it? So here's our support line, so I'm going to zoom in on it so we can see a little better. If it would have closed below here, it would have ruined it as a perfect setup. So if price would have came down and closed, I don't know, like down here, that would have ruined a perfect setup. But it closed right at or slightly above those levels. It actually closed slightly above, if you can see. I mean, look at it in your charts. This is AUD USD. It closed slightly above, so that is just like a perfect storm setup because it didn't close lower. We have no warning that it might be a possible breakout. It just says, I'm going to bounce back up. So that's one of the reasons that the breakout or warning candles are important, because they give you a lot of information. So hopefully that makes sense. That was a beautiful little setup there, because it didn't close lower, which is great. If it did close lower, I probably still, I'm not going to lie, I probably still would have been in on this one on 1% if it broke lower. Otherwise, this was a 3% trade, maybe even a 5%, depending if I was awake or not. Okay, so let's Let's look again now. I'm just going to mark with vertical lines. Good lord, I'm an idiot today. Breakout candles. This was our initial breakout on this. Why? Here was our resist, breakout, or warning candle. Next, as we're moving along, so this becomes our next resist. This candle here, overbought, oversold. I'm not even going to go into setups. We're just focusing on whether it was breakout or not. Okay, so overbought, oversold here, but nowhere close to anything being a trade. This one's overbought, oversold, no breakout. So if it's not a breakout, I'm going to mark it in next. That means we have a potential trade. So that's a potential trade right there. It's more of an ambiguous candle, but it's one to watch because it is slightly higher, but it's not a lot higher, but it's not a lot lower. So ambiguous candle. So we'll do X with ambiguous, and we'll do a check mark for a good one. But price comes back up. We get another, I guess what you'd consider breakout candle. So this is our warning candle. Price is coming back down, and we don't have much structure here. We had structure coming up, not too much structure coming down. What are some of the other things we can look at? And I'm just going to touch topics on them. Here's lows. Here's a low a little bit higher. And again, when I say there's not much structure, you could consider this little plateau a little bit of another lower high. But we have a higher high, ambiguous, higher high, and it drops down. It's losing structure here. Coming back down, let's look at this candle. Doesn't tell us shit because we don't have the structure to the left to determine anything. What we can see is this candle might be affected by this support. This little ass end of it is hitting this support, but again, not a lot of structure on it. So coming down to this candle, this is our first overbought, oversold. It's in the middle of this shit. We don't have any confluence or anything on it, although it did break a Bollinger Band, but institutional does not support this. We have one institutional and a Bollinger Band. The next one's a little bit more interesting, and like I said, that's the one that we would look at because it did hit a solid support, and this was a possible trade right here. Might have been a little scary because you don't have institutional, but possible trade. Okay, any questions on this one? We're going to move on to the next. Again, I'm not in a big rush, but I want to get through this today. One, I wanted to cover morning breakout candles for, is it Corny? I don't even know how to say your name, man. But I wanted to show the breakout candles. If there's no questions on this one, I'll come back to it. I'm going to start up on the next chart. I just don't want my daughter to wake up and then I don't get to finish. I'll take questions once this is all over, too. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. We'll start on the left. We have a support zone here. We have this was a small resist. It was just basically a higher high. From what it looks like, it was a turnaround. Notice there's the lack of structure here. This is cable. Remember, this is cable because this is what we're going to talk about with Brexit and why right now I might remove this one completely off my well, not remove it off my charts, but I'm going to leave it there and laugh. So as we're moving along, let's start here. We have a support down here and we have a resist up here. Not overbought, overbought. So this is our overbought candle right here. And it is what? Let me draw it exactly off here so you can see. I go off candle closes for support and resist, and we use wicks for trend. So remember to keep that in mind. This one closed above here, so this is a potential breakout candle. I'm not going to focus anything on trades. This one might have bit some people in the ass because we have 1, 2, 3 institutional levels to the left of it. But we're not going to get into that today. Right now, we're just going to focus on breakout/warning candles. So we saw this one. We knew it was a breakout warning. So that's a pot. At least all we need to do is identify. Price moves back down. So this becomes our new what? Resist. Slightly higher, but it's still a new resist. And remember, these areas, guys, although I'm drawing it on top of them, these are more like magnets. They're not. They're zones. That's why I prefer you draw the little blue squares because it gets you in the frame of thought that these are zones. They're not exact and they're not perfect. Okay, so our next one then, we have a candle here. Another warning candle or breakout candle. Price moves up, and let's just draw it, even though It's cheating a little bit. Well, since I'm trying to show them right, let's show them right. Price comes up here, drops. Price comes up here again. Now we're in the middle of no man's land. This wouldn't even be considered tradable, but this would be considered a warning candle that price might move up because it closed higher than the previous swing high, or higher high, whatever you want to call it. We'll get in more into swing high and swing lows tomorrow, but today, again, I just wanted to cover breakouts. Here, and this is cable, but it's moving ugly. We could also take into consideration we had a little bit of consolidation here, so we could consider this whole zone. This is ugly, but I'm just trying to point these out. So we have a potential breakdown south here, which it does move a little bit. Now again, we have our support here, and our support carries over to this one now. So this is our support, and price comes up to here. It goes overbought, oversold right here. It's in the middle of nowhere, so this is a no trade candle, but what we want to notice is if it was overbought, oversold, and it lined up, this would be a good trade because it doesn't get anywhere close to up here. So it's not a warning candle. So moving on, we don't have shit yet. We have here. And all I'm doing is the thought process as the chart moved, this is what I would have been marking. Here, structure looks like crap on this one though. And again, it's cable. There is a reason behind that. Price moves down, so here's our candle. This one's overbought, oversold. So you would have gotten an alert on this candle. We'll talk about this one because since it's overbought, oversold, and it's getting close to a trade setup. Current market conditions are no. Bollinger Bands are no. Institutional is no. So this should have been a pass. Next, this candle goes overbought, oversold. Current market conditions are shaping up on it. These are the current hourly Fibos on it. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Nope, these aren't the hourly Fibos on it, sorry. They just redrew. So 5, 10, 25. They redrew on this candle, so we can't use those. Okay, talking about this one still then, it had it had a few more current market conditions, but no institutional. So we have another pass. It is also a warning candle, closed lower. So we should have been able to pass on that one pretty easy. Next, we just have consolidation shit. There's not much left on that. One more chart, and then we're going to get into Brexit. Any questions so far? Just go ahead and type them in while I'm going over the next chart. Here we have Euro USD. God, the damn mosquito got me good. Okay, let me take a 30-second breather, get some coffee and water into me before I go over the next one. I'm recording this. I'll post it to the forum, so if I'm moving a little bit fast because of keto today, don't worry about it. You can go back and watch the recording. Oh, sorry if you can hear me swallowing. I am dying of thirst today. Okay, so we're going to start on the left again. Let's say, and just mark it. Again, marking your charts with these tiny little, just so you can see. What you're marking is a swing high, swing low, or a new higher high, a new lower low. It's getting you into the thought pattern of doing it. Because if we mark these correctly, this right here is a slight uptrend. This right here, well, you can see it is a downtrend quickly. But just so I'm going to get off subject, but I'm going to mark it real quick. I'm just going to mark them all. Okay, so what do we see? What this lets us see, quite simply, I'm going to mark it all. I'm not going to mark it all the way across. Okay. And this will feed into tomorrow's walkthrough. Lower low. I'm sorry. Here's a low. Lower high. In other words, this low is a higher low. God, I can't even say things in the right order. So we have a low, and then a higher low, higher low. Now, to confirm it, we have a high here, higher high, higher high. So we know we're in an uptrend. A warning that this is ending, and we'll get into it tomorrow, is right here. So we get a higher high, so we know that price is going to move in a stair step, up, down, up, down, up, down. This right here, does it create a new higher low? No, it doesn't. It stalls out on the support. So we then know that there's a possibility that this uptrend is ending. Okay, so let me just do this so I can clear out all the blues. No, that's not how we clear out all the blues in object list. Delete. Alright, so now that we marked them, let's go back and mark them again real quick. What we're doing is as the chart moves, it gives you something to do, you mark these. Again, this will help you determine the market's, I guess you could say, sentiment, movement, trend, whatever you want to call it. And now these are easy because it's already drawn and it's easy to spot. But mark them as you go. You can always extend them by just double-clicking them. And as the chart moves, you can pull them out a little bit more to match what you see on your chart. But it's definitely a good idea. Okay, so we got some marked up. So what do we see here? Price moves up, price moves down. We don't have a breakout here, so meh. We don't have overbought, oversold either, so meh. Let's pop these up to 100 so we can see all the way back. This one was overbought, oversold, no institutional on it. I'm not going to go because I don't know what the hell the current market conditions were on it. This one here, not overbought, oversold, but what we need to be aware of is, since it's a higher... Okay, so I know this is going to cram into tomorrow, but why it's important to see that if this is a higher low, if this one went overbought, oversold, say here, and we had a fully qualified trade, but it didn't drop below here, what we're saying is we have a new higher low, which means we're still in an upwards trend. If this goes overbought, oversold, like this candle almost was overbought, oversold, it means the stair step's going to continue moving upward. If it's a breakout warning candle, it means the stair step was broken and we no longer have a new higher low. So these both are going to swing high, swing low, and breakout candles are going to feed into each other, just so you're aware. But we need to teach you to identify one before you can identify the other. This candle here, what do we have? Since we're on an upwards trend, because we've identified it with the higher lows and higher highs. We're on an upwards trend, our breakout candle is here. It closed higher, so we know that the chance is price is moving up, and we've confirmed it with higher lows and higher highs. I'm going to start mentioning higher lows and higher highs for this, but we'll get into it in detail tomorrow. Supports here. Now, this candle here is a lovely one because we know we're making higher highs and higher lows. If this one, so this would be one that this is what we're looking for good trades, is this one right here. If we had it current market conditions supporting it and institutional supporting it, this is what we're looking for because it doesn't close higher. If it goes overbought, oversold, and we get current and institutional, perfect. This would be the type of candle we're looking at to get into a trade because the likelihood of price dropping is higher on those. But no setup on that one. It's just what I'm trying to show is that it didn't breach higher than our previous swing. Price moves up. This one would have almost popped a little bit of an alert, but it didn't. It closed below it, but we had no setup on it. No institutional, no current market conditions. The next one, though, we need to identify and recognize that it is a warning breakout candle, and price does move up. Why does it move up? Because it had nothing to stop it. The only thing it was doing was pushing daily high. It rode the Bollinger Bands there, and if we use value charts to help you determine. Price on value charts have been moving up this entire time until this candle here, and then value charts on this candle flattens out. Price keeps moving up, and yet value charts is not moving up. So we know that this little movement upwards is weakening. It's not a big, strong run. Why is it not a big, strong run up? Because we're in a range. Remember, if it's in a range, it's going to be the easiest thing for you to trade. But again, we wanted to identify that this was not a warning candle or breakout candle. This was. Okay, so we want to keep marking our shit as the charts move. Sorry about the language. Price comes all the way down to here. We get no overbought, oversold. Our first overbought, oversold is right here, and what does it do? It is a warning candle. Now, if we look, there's a daily pivot slightly below it, but it doesn't even touch it. So you should have no freaking reason getting in on this trade. Right here, I'll mark the candle. You should have no damn reason to be getting in on this trade. This was a warning candle. It had room to run down to the daily pivot, and then it continues to run down. So we should not have been in it. Next thing we notice is price continues to drop. Price is going down. Value chart is going up. So we have a divergence. That's another symptom. It's an exhaustion, but it also means that price is running. So this should have been an ignore. No reason to get in on that trade at all. Continuing down, there's nothing we can do except if you're trend trading, it might have been a setup. That becomes our next support as price moves up, and that brings us to here. Any questions so far? Next, we're going to cover Brexit. Mark your charts. It'll help you identify swing high, swing low, higher low, and breakout candles. They all work together in, what's that movie from Bad Teacher, Simpatico or whatever? Justin Bieber sings it to the crazy bitch. Everything works together. It's just getting a clear picture of how it works together. And it'll help out it's going to help out your binary options trading and your Forex trading. Okay, so next is a topic of, I guess you could say, world news. For this piece of shit pair here, and sorry if you're in the UK, I don't mean to offend. Brexit. Anyone know what Brexit means? The term. It's an abbreviation. BREXIT. If you've been watching, if any of your brokers have any kind of common sense, they've probably sent you an email saying your leverage has been reduced on GBP USD. For instance, Owanda went from, since you're a US trader, the most you can get on leverage is 50 to 1. Owanda reduced it by more than 50% and dropped us to 20 to 1 leverage. And that means a lot of people had to close out trades, or they got their asses handed to them. A lot of people margin called because of this. That's why it's important. Object list. Let me clear up the chart. Okay, so Brexit, basically what it is, it's an abbreviation, means British exit. If you remember, Greek wanted to exit the European Union. They called it a Grexit, Grexit. And it's just the possibility that Britain will withdraw from the European Union. What's it called there? They don't call it a vote. In out something, referendum, I believe, on June 23rd. So until June 23rd hits, mainly the cable pairs will be cable GBP. Anything with GBP in it you're just jacked. I would recommend, even on bins, it's one of the majors I trade all the time, so it drops me down to about 3 pairs. I'm probably going to replace it with maybe USD CHF. But what I'm saying is be careful on any GBP pairs now. Be extremely, extremely careful. Let's zoom out a little bit and just look at the movements on this bitch. I'll zoom out a little bit. This is an M15 chart. You see spikes. Big candle spikes that we typically don't see. As a major, this pair is usually pretty smooth. It doesn't look like dog shit like this. This does not look smooth at all. Not like it typically does. If you've been trading cable for any amount of time, you know this does not look like its normal movement. So June 23rd is the end of Brexit. Until then, I would highly, highly recommend probably just not touching this pair. See if you can find a replacement over in the majors. If you don't know what I mean by Forex majors, let me get that up and show you. These are typically what are considered the majors. So as you can see, what I mentioned, is I'm going to probably be putting USD CHF up on there for now. And here, I'll bring it up on the screen so you can see it. Okay, so I put it in chat as a link, but I know since people in the video can't see it. But here's our four majors: Euro USD, USD JPY, GBP USD, which right now is shit. So I'll probably replace GBP USD with USD CHF, just to be safe. You notice I have AUD USD on there. I like that pair, and that's my choice. I almost would consider it a major, but it's actually, a lot of people consider it a minor. Okay, so that gives you an option if you're trading majors only. Get USD CHF on there, and I'm going to have cable on there so I can watch it because it's been pretty entertaining, but I'm not going to be trading it, I don't think. Even though the... How do you say it? It looks nice because, wow, that's a lot of pips I could have grabbed. But these movements aren't making any sense. They're coming randomly. There is no news. There is nothing. They're just spiking out. So let's say I took a trade here. Just because this thing moved up, how many pips was it? It's 182. What? Fuck, it's 182 pips. Just because it moved up 182 pips, if I got in a trade here, let's say right here, let me zoom in one. Yeah, I do like USD CHF, and I think I'm going to add it on and I'll start trading 5 pairs. What I'm saying is these spike candles are bad. We want to stay away from them. I think that covers enough. Any questions on the Brexit, on swing high, swing low, or not swing high, swing low, breakout candles, warning candles? Tomorrow we will cover swing high, swing low, and higher high, higher low. But we had one new person who took a trade on a warning candle, so I wanted to make sure and start up the process again of going over it, and then we're going to put in tomorrow, we're going to put in warning candles with swing high and swing low. Tomorrow we'll start a little bit earlier. I'll probably be up around 4, and we'll start the live at around 5:30 or 6:30, depending on how I feel. Let me stop the recording real quick. Okay, if you're watching the recording, guys, that ends it. Thank you. Have a great day.